Hey everyone, hope you had a good Christmas. And this is the last time I will be doing this solo because Dad and Lad are going to start a new adventure next week. So, for the very last story, these are the words that you need to listen out for. They are chemistry, astronaut, skeleton, house, and parade. The title of the story is The Boy Astronaut. George Wheater didn't like school very much, although both his parents and his teachers thought the boy was a genius. What they didn't know was that he was actually a cheater. George cheated at everything except for one lesson, chemistry. He loved the subject so much that he created a secret lab in his bedroom. Whenever his parents would ask what he was doing in his room, he would simply shout down the stairs, "I'm doing my homework." Really, he was mixing liquids and experimenting with all sorts of chemical combinations in order to create his latest cheat invention. If he ever heard his mum and dad coming up the stairs, George would press a button and his bed would flip, drawers spin, wardrobe flop, and his desk would drop. Everything would go back to normal so fast that when the door opened, he would be sat at his desk light on, and reading some sort of book his parents would never be able to understand. Little did they know that he had never read a page of any book. He was actually reading his favourite comic, which he had secretly hidden inside. "Don't stay up too late, George. You need to give your brain a rest," his parents would say before they would go to bed. Night time, however, was when the boy would do most of his most outrageous experiments, safe in the knowledge that he wouldn't be disturbed. Each experiment would be coded until he was completely satisfied he had perfected his concoction. These included FS015, a fart spray that was the smelliest thing on the planet and 1,000 times worse than the stinkiest cheese. On one school trip to a museum, George unleashed his nose-destroying, eye-watering gas, and within seconds, exhibits melted, the place evacuated, and the museum remained closed for weeks, as they believed they had a sewer problem. BG40 was a bogey glue created from all the bogies he picked from his nose and stored over time, mixed with some really strong chemicals. As he didn't really like basketball much, he climbed the ladder and coated the ring which held the net. When his coach, Mr. Hooper, was showing off his skills and did a slam dunk, he celebrated by swinging on the hoop. Only he never came down again. In fact, the poor coach is still hanging around there somewhere in the sports hall. One of the boy's other inventions was HR-17, a hair restorer so strong that it turned his previously bald geography teacher, Mr. Follicle, into the world's hairiest man in 24 hours. He has so much hair that he now donates some every day to wig makers. But the question is, who did George get his love of chemistry and his inspiration from? Well, that would be none other than Professor Conkers, the boy's favourite teacher. This lady always tried to make her lessons as much fun and interactive as possible. But the students thought she was mad. Crackers, completely bonkers. In fact, she was just passionate about the subject she taught. However, on one particular lesson, something went a little wrong. And, just like a cartoon character, when they touch electricity, the teacher's hair stood on end, her body flashed, her skeleton could be seen by her pupils, like an X-ray machine. This gave George an idea. There was a test on the human body coming up, and the boy was struggling to remember all the bones. He decided that if he could just create something to help so that he would be able to cheat on the test, that would be brilliant. Night after night, he worked on his latest idea, the test getting ever closer. Nothing was working, although he did accidentally create some other cool stuff in the process. Instead of having ants in your pants, George had devised a mixture that made ants wearing pants. He actually only noticed this one morning when he saw things of all funny colours walking around in his bedroom. When he picked one up and put it under the microscope, before his very eyes stood an ant wearing wrestling pants. He also discovered anti-gravity cream that would make you float in the air, as if you were in space. Whilst this was really awesome, and George had a lot of fun floating around his bedroom, it was not going to help him in the test. Finally, he created rocket fuel, a solution so strong that it shot his dinosaur teddy bear out through the window and into the night sky like a plane taking off. Again, not going to help with his test, but it did give him another idea. It was the night before the test, and the boy was nowhere near ready. He just had to miss school for the day. Using his special bogey glue, anti-gravity cream, and mixing a little fart gas with his rocket fuel so it would burn for longer, George created a rocket built from his bed. The problem was, the rocket was too big to get through the open window. The boy was stuck. Or was he? His rocket was so strong and rocket fuel so powerful that the flying space bed simply smashed through the bedroom wall with a huge crash, bits of the house falling into the garden below as it flew at light speed into space. As he broke through the Earth's atmosphere, George realised that technically he was now an astronaut. Cool, he thought. After having a Mars bar with a Martian, visiting the man in the moon, and having some fun in the sun, the boy decided it was time to return home. Only he hadn't planned for that bit, as he was so eager to just get away. Was there even enough fuel left? Luckily for George, he had a chemistry set in a drawer under his bed, and a few drops of this, and a stirring of that, and mixed with his anti-gravity cream, he made a sort of magnetic potion, which pulled him back towards Earth. The boy really was a genius after all. As he drew closer and closer to his street, he noticed so many people. It was like a parade. There were even NASA vehicles parked on the driveway and garden of his house. As the rocket bed's wheels touched down on the road and came to a stop, huge cheers went up. Super George! Super George! Super George! George never cheated again. After his space adventure, he decided to work really hard at school and become a real astronaut. He still loved chemistry and making all sorts of solids, liquids, and gases, of course. But instead of creating mischief, these were all useful inventions, such as a super light, super strong, and environmentally friendly material. But most of all, after lots of effort and hard work, George actually did become an astronaut. The end.